All right, what's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and welcome to a discussion-based video live stream here, where we're going to talk about what's going on with the channel, what the plans are for 2026, answer questions that you guys may have, and more. There is no real rhyme or reason to the way this is going to be broken down, and rather than me just do a talking head video where I tell you kind of what I'm planning, I figure it's a little bit more dynamic if I chat with all of you directly, and then you guys can prompt questions, and maybe that'll help inform some of the things that are going on, and we can just go like that going forward. So, welcome in. Just figured I'd play one of my old-time favorites, good old Twitch jam from one of my favorite chiptune artists, Ben Briggs. So, that being said, welcome again. And I always do apologize for the infrequency of videos. I can usually stay on top of it for a little while and then kind of fall off. And it's usually work or another thing that kind of stops that from happening. But anyway, so kind of overarching comments about what I expect to be doing here on the channel in 2026. Also, by the way, do not wait. You can feel free to just throw questions or comments or whatever you might have. Just go ahead and throw that out as you see fit, and I'll answer them as best I can as time goes on. So, what I plan to do content-wise here in 2026 is probably going to be more of the same, but the goal is to hit it more frequently, right? So, I've been trying to, I know shorts-based content does really well for discoverability, TikToks, and things of that nature. So, the goal is to try and do at least a singular, now that I'm putting it out here in the world, I have to start it, going into next week. But the goal is to do probably at least one piece of short form content a day, if not multiple pieces of short form content a day, in addition to long form content. And ideally, at least a long form video once a day, if not multiple, depending on, if, news drops, right? And so that's the thing is, right, as someone who does a lot of coverage of D&D news, that kind of happens when it happens. And I can't control the news cycle. I just kind of get the news when it happens. Like the Unearthed Arcana dropping this past week, a couple days ago, right? I didn't know that was coming. I had a feeling, like a gut feeling that told me it might have been, but there was no guarantee that was going to happen. So, one long form is a day. I know there's definitely the concept of burnout, and I do have some things that we're going to talk about here in a minute that may help with that. But I've done, I still had a bunch of content that I wanted to release that I never got around to doing, which was just like covering stuff from even when the 2024 rule books came out. But there's a lot of stuff that you guys really like is, you guys really like the top 10 videos. I'd like to bring those back. Actually, somebody recently requested going in and doing my top 10 magic item videos again, but this time focusing on 2024 rules, because obviously we got some new magic items in the 2024 rule books that are out so far, and also classes and subclasses may be different now with the world of 2024. So, I can go ahead and do that as well. So, the goal and the plan would be to be more of that kind of content. Also, I've been joking around and thinking about doing tier tier lists. I know tier lists do very well. It's just a YouTube algorithm thing. So like I don't mind doing tier lists, but like that's not like my main focus of content. Oh, thanks everybody. You guys are sweet. Full-time job. Yeah. No, what is your one serious request? Lewis, what do you got? Let me know. But I'm popular in Australia? Resi? That's news to me. That's cool. Any overseas plans? I can't say with certainty. The best I can say as far as overseas is I think I may be in the UK in the fall. That is still very up in the air. There may be something that I may be involved with, and I'm saying it cagily because honestly, I don't even know. I was involved in some stuff middle of last year in a consulting way, and they asked me to talk about some stuff and like work on some things with them. And then I think there might be something happening in the UK that I might be involved in or at least be a guest at, but that's the best I can say on that. I don't have any more information to give you. But hey, that's cool that I'm big in Australia. Feel pretty good about that, honestly. But you know, uh at this point in my life, big trips like that, like that's not a small trip, right? To head out to Australia or wherever. So that would definitely have to be like someone would have to reach out to me and then say like, "Hey, we want you at this event," and then like at least pay a portion of that to get me out there. Um Fandelver crew must return in some form or fashion. Well, we're almost done with that campaign. We've got a couple sessions left, I think. I don't know the exact amount with the Fandelver crew. And I don't know what the future is going to look like because everybody's got busy schedules and stuff. So that campaign, I don't imagine it getting to 70 episodes. We're at about, maybe it'll get to 70, but it depends, right? We're around 60 episodes or so. It depends on how things pan out and what kind of curveballs are thrown, but we're in the end game now for that. It will wrap up properly for sure. I am planning to finish it up. We were going to play this week, but there were a lot of things going on, and I'll explain some of that in a minute here. So we should be playing this Wednesday, which should be leading, I think, to them going back to Soot's parents' house to light that final beacon, and we'll see what goes from there. So, but I do intend to fully wrap that whole campaign up in a nice bow and be able to send it off into whatever ending it ends up having. I will be at Gen Con. Yes, Lucas. I will be. My plans for conventions as they stand thus far are PAX East in March, Gen Con in whatever that is, early August, and PAX Unplugged. I think it's back in November again this year. Those are my guaranteed conventions. I did go to PGX last year, Pittsburgh Gaming Expo. That was actually a lot of fun. And being completely upfront and honest, they paid the whole way for me to go out there. Like they paid for my hotel, they paid for my ticket. I did a couple panels and I ran some games. And that's really like, for me, like personally, that's really all it takes for me to like want to go to an event that I might not have gone to. And I know that might like seem like a lot, but like if somebody wants me to be there, like I did Green Dragon Fest a few years ago, and I don't like the inaugural one. So, like these events where people are like, "Hey, you want to play with Ted from Nerd Immersion?" That's fine. I love running games for folks and kind of getting to meet new people and things like that. So, and I mean, Pittsburgh was easy. I could just drive there. So I just drove. And it wasn't that very long of a trip either. So like, driving or getting a flight, whatever that is, that's really all it takes to get me somewhere for event organizers that may or may not watch this down the road. But either way, so we'll see. But that's it for right now. If PGX asks me back again, I will likely go to that. But if other things pop up, you never know. And then again, obviously, this thing in the UK in the fall, if it happens, I don't know. There's a couple other things I'm looking to work on, so I got to see if they end up going anywhere. But I do need to respond to a couple of inquiries and things to see what goes on with that. So I will continue, obviously, to cover D&D related content. It does sound like soon we should get the roadmap for the D&D Beyond situation, seems like, for the next year. We know they've obviously gone pretty hard on D&D Beyond maps, especially in the closing of Project Sigil. I also did promise you all and some of the folks from the Sigil team that or at least, the big Sigil users, that I would go in and kind of take a look at what's left of Sigil before it shuts off completely in October, just to kind of show off what it is and what it could have been were it to continue, because there's a really pretty solid like sigil community for what it is. And unfortunately, like it'll be very bittersweet to go view and check out what everyone has gone through the efforts of building to just see it all get turned off in October. But I do want to at least have something, at least for posterity here on the channel, showcasing kind of the cool stuff that people have done. I maybe bring on one of like the lead community members from Sigil, not like the D&D team, but like one of the lead people in the community, and maybe bring them on for an interview or do like a share screen situation and kind of go in and showcase it just to have a record of what it was before it's gone forever. If anything, just again, for the, this concept, we live in a world now where so many things, as I'm sure many of you know, like games just disappear. And like the sort of being able to keep these things for an archive. So being able to have a video of at least what it was or what it could have been would be just a cool thing to have, so people can go back and be like, what was that? Oh, that's what it was. And then you can at least see that. Let's see. I highly appreciate your content. I was watching a video as you started your live. Yeah, well, that's kind of how it goes. I usually end up, the live streams are usually kind of in between. I know you're more D&D, but would you consider trying to run the Delian Tomb on stream? Draw Steel is hella fun. My favorite TTRPG of 2025. Not a contest, but better than Daggerheart by a mile. So I'll be honest, I have not looked that much into Draw Steel. I know very cursory stuff about it. I will gladly look into stuff. And I love other RPGs, right? Obviously, D&D is kind of what makes the money, right? As it were. But there's definitely a room for making other content. I know I was in a pretty consistent Pathfinder 2e campaign for a while, and that kind of fizzled out over on the Rules Lawyers channel. And at some point, we're supposed to start a Starfinder 2e campaign on Captain Robert's channel, but that is largely based on Starfinder 2e getting up and running in Foundry. So we'll see where that goes. But that's based on this. That's like out of our hands. That's in the Foundry team's hands. So we'll see what that looks like. As long as the D&D D20 system. Yeah, I also, Tales of the Valiant has some cool stuff. And I need to think of what campaign I'm going to run in a world post Phandelver. So like I've been looking at ideas for that. I also just got all of my books for I just got all my books for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness RPG 2nd edition. That's actually the first RPG I ever played, was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness. For those of you who don't know, probably is exactly what you think it is, but it is a TTRPG that was released in about, I think, 85, right? Actually, after the comics of the Ninja Turtles had released, but before the animated show from the 80s released, there was an RPG where you basically can play and create your own mutant animal, and then there you go. So the concept of that is, you generate your own mutant animal, and there's different ways that you can be created, whether it was like with an ooze or different things like that. And then there's different kind of things, like, do you want to spend points to make your character bipedal? Do you want to give them human-like hands? There's all sorts of different like points you can spend on to adjust and tweak, and like what kind of body, like do you have claws that are sharp that can deal damage? Do you have a big bite attack? Do you have like armor if you're a turtle, or whatever, things like that. It's a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun playing it. It's actually, like I said, the first RPG I ever played. Also, coincidentally, the first RPG I ever ran, because me being an overachiever, I decided to buy those books, and having never played an RPG before, I decided I was going to run it right out the gate. So it's a lot of fun. And also what's really cool is in the update to the 2nd edition, they updated several of the adventures, and they actually updated 2 of my favorite adventures for that. And that is Truckin' Turtles and Turtles Go Hollywood, which they actually run really smoothly from one right into another. So I actually would really like to run that at some point on the channel, because I think that would be a lot of fun, because it's just goofy Ninja Turtle. Actually, it doesn't have to be goofy Ninja Turtle action. It actually can be very serious, dark TMNT comic action if you want it to be. But I really like that RPG system, so at some point, just to give it a little bit of a spotlight. Plus, I was lucky enough to get reached out to by Palladium Books, and I got to interview the people behind designing the RPG and the update to 2020, or to the 2nd edition version of it. So I also, for what it's worth, I might be able to leverage that and maybe even get that to be a sponsored stream by Palladium Books, because not a lot of people are out here running that game. So it would be very cool to be able to do that. Let's see. We got some other comments here. Easy enough to also run Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles D&D 5e. Yeah, it's definitely easy to run it in D&D, but I like that system. It's a Palladium system, so it's wonky and weird, and it uses, like, it's a D20, but it's percentile. It's funky, and I like it, and I would just like to play it as it is. But I could definitely think of some friends that would be a lot of fun to play as mutant animals. Wes, we're just talking about what the plans are for the channel in the next year and kind of what stuff I've got going on. Doc Shoulder, are you still playing your in-person game you used to play at your house 6 or 7 years ago? No, unfortunately. So that game was streamed, as you know, online. That was Everend, as somebody was calling it out. I think Lewis was calling that out earlier. Everend was my homebrew world that I'd created that I was running. There's about 130, 150 episodes of that on YouTube. And that was my homebrew game. And unfortunately, due to real life stuff in a couple of situations, we are not able to continue that game. And it's due to some legal situations for some of the players. And then also due to, like, IRL medical kind of situations that also prevents everybody from getting back together to play. And then also, like, scheduling and other things, but mostly those two things kind of prevented us from continuing the game in its original form. We probably could have continued it online, but there was just something about playing it together, and I don't think that that game particularly does well in a not in-person version. Would I run games for fans, subscribers? Funnily enough, we were going to get to that, so hold out. But yeah, unfortunately, I mean, a lot of that is, like, if you research everybody, like, you could probably figure it out, but I've talked about it before, so I'll just go over it at a very high level. But Pat, who used to play in our games, unfortunately, he's due to his own fault, and I won't go into the specifics, but he has been in jail for at least 5 years. I think he got out on Christmas of this past year, but I haven't heard anything one way or another. So that's why Pat can't play. And unfortunately, yeah, like I said, there were some pretty serious medical issues that prevented other people from gathering. So unfortunately, if you do like seeing or at least listening to the majority of that crew, as in me, Jake, Sean, and Celine, the best thing I can point you to is Legends Rerolled podcast. That is the podcast that Sean, Celine, and Jake kind of are in together. But the second season of that, called Malice in Wonderland, I am a guest on that whole second season. So if you want to hear me, Sean, Celine, and Jake together, that's about the best option you're going to get, is listening in to that podcast. And there's about 20-something episodes out, I think, so far, and we're finishing up that whole season of that very shortly. So be on the lookout for that. But that's the best way to get the OG crew, at least as many of us as are legally capable, together to do that. So let's see. I think that covers that. I had run like a 1 or 2 shot of the Palladium Ninja Turtles games on Twitch years ago. I think it was it Sean, Pat, and Jake maybe played in it. I had run that a long time ago, so we had done like a 1 or 2 episode sort of one shot with that as like a random follower goal at some point. So that exists somewhere on the YouTube, so you can check that out. But I would like to run it as a new campaign, and like maybe do Truckin' Turtles into Turtles Go Hollywood. I don't actually have a really good handle on how long a campaign like that happens, because more often than not, I always try to do that, and then it takes so long to get everybody like understanding their characters completely that we end up just doing the first session and then we never play it again. So ideally, I'd get to the point where I could actually run it with like people who have the rules down and understand it, and then we can just kind of roll into it and maybe do a whole campaign. So that would be cool. By the way, if you're watching over on YouTube, I will tell you, go ahead and hit the like button on the live stream. It does drive this up algorithm-wise. Well, thank you, Lewis. I had a lot of fun with Everend. Someday I'd like to finish it, but I don't know if it'll ever happen. I'll just tell you, I had a really epic ending for that whole campaign, and we unfortunately never got there, which is a bummer. Okay. So again, when Phandelver and Below ends, I will continue streaming at least D&D in some capacity. Not sure what the team's going to look like, but I will continue playing. I will continue to keep playing over on Captain Robert's channel in a variety of different capacities. I would like to do this Ninja Turtle game at some point. Depends on, whatever that happens with that. Somebody brought up Draw Steel. Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Ideally, the best thing for me would be to probably play in it somewhere else and see. Thank you again for the super chats and things. I really appreciate that as well. Probably going to continue to do some video game live streams as well. We are planning a Marvel Rivals night at some point soon where we actually have a chat bingo card that you guys can randomly generate, and then whenever we do that, you'll be able to win a prize, whoever gets bingo first. So that's a fun thing, and that'll be like me and Kendra, Robert, and our kind of Marvel Rivals crew. I want to play some more Guild Wars on stream. I actually want to do Guild Wars 2 and Guild Wars 1 because I've been back into GW1 a bunch. And I've been talking about it for a while. I've been getting that itch to play Baldur's Gate 3 again. And, I feel like I need, especially since my last playthrough that I did, like the fresh patch 8 playthrough that I did, ended up tanking because of like a glitch of way some of the interactions of like feats and mods didn't allow me to continue playing the game. I couldn't level up the characters anymore. So I need to start fresh anyway. So I've got a heavily modded version of Baldur's Gate 3 that I really want to play through. And actually, some of my friends have expressed wanting to be a part of that playthrough. And also, we might be getting Guild Wars 3 news sometime this year, potentially, if that's going to happen, which could be wild. So we'll know. We'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, CB, Crit Bard, asked if he brought up wanting to play Baldur's Gate 3. So we might do that, at least the two of us, if not a couple others, and maybe get a whole 4-player stream going. Celeste, LB, or Jordan. I haven't actually talked to Jordan in years, to be honest. And that's me being a bad friend. Oh, Varian here. The whole Delian 2 level 1 to 3 is only $10 on MCDM's website. Okay, I'll check it out. Listen, 11 out of 10 adventure. That's a big praise. So I'm just saying, you're giving it a lot of praise. I'll give it a look. So we'll see. But yeah, I want to play, I want to do another BG3 playthrough, and there's so many cool, unique classes. Like I just found the Dragon Tamer class that somebody made, where your whole thing is you get to summon a dragon, like familiar, that grows with you and stuff, which is a really cool concept. I also want to get into doing my own mods in Baldur's Gate 3, which I think could be a lot of fun if I learn how to do that. I started playing around with it, but I couldn't lock it in perfectly yet. So, yeah, I think I heard that Draw Steel's 2d10 instead of a d20. I love a d20 personally. I prefer the swinginess of the d20, but I understand the concept of the 2d10. So either way. But yeah, I'll see about, who wants to play other games and stuff. I still would love to finish the Great Modron March campaign that we played with Jordan that had to go on hiatus when Jordan had all those like issues like in his house. I'm pretty sure his house had polybutylene pipe, and the pipe burst, and like he had to redo his whole home, so he basically stopped doing like anything. So I'd love to finish that campaign and get LB and Lex and everybody back together and finish out that campaign. Just get closure on things we never got to finish. Yeah, there's some crazy mods for BG3. Also, for what it's worth, when I made a video on my mods that I used for BG3, that was like my most successful video of 2025. Was like 2 videos on Baldur's Gate 3 mods. So, on a purely business standpoint, Baldur's Gate 3 stuff does better than Dungeons and Dragons sometimes. Another thing I want to just address too is some of the concepts of why myself and maybe you saw there was that big swath of D&D creators just like leaving YouTube. And part of it is because of the I mean, part of it now is obviously there's just a bunch of AI slop on YouTube where like people are just doing like the clicks, like they cut a video with like Subway Surfer and then AI voiceover or whatever, or just cut the videos together and that does like clicks because it's short and it's quickly viewable and you can just go through it. So uh but what I mean is I'm not going to sacrifice my integrity as a content creator for views. And I know it's so easy to do the overly big eyes, crazy reaction face on the thumbnail, and like D&D is doomed, 6th edition is coming, everything sucks, and the world is ending, and it's all Dungeons and Dragons' fault. Like, all that kind of content does gangbusters in the world of D&D YouTube. Just negative, just absolute trash content that all it does is shit on the game and the creators and the community and all this kind of stuff, and it's just all made up, and you got the big chart with the arrow going down on the sales and all that stuff, and that does very well content-wise, and that's just not me, right? That's not the kind of content I want to make. So I will not be giving in to the D&D algorithm on YouTube. I will continue to make the content that I'm known for making because that's the kind of content that I like to. And yeah, I like to think that, yeah, my content isn't overly heavily edited. And that definitely does hurt me. I know that. I know if I were to do jump cuts with B-roll and effects and all that kind of stuff, the content will do better. Just look at my other colleagues in the channel or in the space, and that does well. Everybody else that does make D&D content and it does better than mine, which is not like a direct comparison. I just know from my colleagues in the space, that's what they do. And their content does well. And I know that that's part of it because that's just what YouTube is designed to do, right? Is to, like, people have shortened attention spans. So changing a camera angle and talking over here and then cutting back and having, a meme or, like the whole, I would call it like the game theory ism, like that editing style that was very heavily utilized by game theory, where you'll cut to like a short clip of something else and you cut back and all that kind of stuff. Like that does very well YouTube wise. Maybe, but I don't like doing that. I hate editing, if I'm being completely honest. And I do feel like the kind of content that I make, and you guys can obviously tell me this is the way I feel about my content, that it comes off as we're having a conversation, you and I, and like we're friends. And I think that also translates to every time I meet any of you guys in person at conventions and stuff, everybody feels very comfortable coming up and talking to me and just having a conversation because that's the kind of content I put out. You and I are friends and we're just talking. The way I'm talking to you now in this video is no different than the way I talk to you if I met you in person, right? I'm not a personality, although some people may say that I am. This is who I am. What you're getting now is me in, who I am. And that's just kind of how I translate from a video to in person to what you see on screen and things like that. And that's the kind of content I like making. So that's why I make it that way. So, anyway, just putting that out there. Captain Milovic, I would like to see you take a top 10 best items for classes as you did for D&D, then do it for BG3. Okay. Hey, that's good content. That's easy enough to do. Top 10 magic items for BG3. I'm literally writing that one down right now because that I know how to do that. I will be doing that again. Somebody recently requested me to do that for 2024, so I'll do that as well. A longtime viewer, and I don't think I've ever spoken in here. Your take on keeping high-value discussion as priority over sheer view count is much appreciated. Oh, thank you. Well, again, that's why I like to consider myself pretty level-headed in the space. Now, there's obviously, and everybody knows this, and I'm sure you've seen it over the years, I've been called a fearmonger. I've been called a shill. I've been called just about everything that contradicts one thing or another when it comes to D&D in this space. But I love this game. I love Dungeons and Dragons. I love RPGs. I love playing games. I love spending time with my friends and reminiscing over silly little things we did in a made-up game that to us feels like a real memory because it was, you know? So I enjoy that, and I want that to progress and keep happening. And unfortunately, some of the bad shit that happens, I don't have any control over. That's decisions that get made in the Ivory Tower in Seattle. And if I can help, I will. But if I can't, you know, it is what it is. So I call out the bullshit when I see it. Like if I see design, like that's the most basic thing. We were just talking about Unearthed Arcana. If I call out some of that I think it's really crappy, I'm going to call it out. I'm going to make it said in a, in a video, and I'll make it said in a survey, and I'll let people know that this isn't great and I don't love this. But I'm also going to not give them praise where praise is due. For example, D&D Beyond Maps didn't need to exist, but it does, and it's constantly updated, and they're making it better and better and better, to the point where it almost rivals Roll20, and it's free if you're using D&D Beyond anyway. And how many people are using the Roll20 like mod for like D&D Beyond that imports your stuff over, like above table or whatever it is? I forget what it is, but like at this point, D&D Beyond Maps is almost the go-to thing for Dungeons and Dragons for a VTT. And I know I use it almost every week. So, well, wow, Wes, that's a, I was one of the inspirations for you starting a YouTube channel. Damn, man, that means a lot. Like, thank you. Any plans on updating Ted's tables with the new book / next set of releases? Yes, I actually have to update Ted's tables. For those of you who don't know, Ted's tables are my loot tables, where I had taken all of the magic items from all of the official D&D sources and following the same rule set that they developed for the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide, I updated all of those tables to include all of the magic items from every official source, and then ranked them sort of like weakest to strongest in what my personal opinion. So rolling 100 on a D100 feels good as opposed to just being alphabetical. And there have been a couple of new magic items that have released. So yes, I will do that because we also need to recreate them in all of the individual instances since Robert and I have been making new instances for all of the campaigns that we're in. So I need to recreate them anyway. So I will update Ted's tables to include this. And then obviously whatever we get release-wise here in the world of 2026. Okay, let's go ahead and see. I missed out on some YouTube stuff. Please don't do those videos. Discourse is guilty of that. I know it does, but I hate that content. I hit my favorite button. Don't recommend channel. Yeah. I like Bob Worldbuilder and Professor DM, though Professor DM says some of that stuff. And I love Bob and I love Professor DM. They're good friends of mine. But yes, and I mean, and I get it, right? Every so often a video like that can do very well. So I get it. It definitely comes off very authentic. Not that other people will necessarily feel inauthentic, but your content does affirmatively come off as authentic. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you. Again, scrolling through. Oh, well, I really appreciate all of the positive words, guys. I really do. I appreciate it. This kind of stuff, even though it's silly, it definitely helps, refill the cup, as it were. So, man, I don't think I've ever been called erudite before, but damn, pulling out the vocab words and in favor of me, so I appreciate that. Your channel stuff is the first D&D campaigns I watched from beginning to end. You got me hooked on watching people play live camp plays. Wow, man. Thank you. So, we got that out of the way, the kind of content you can expect to see here. I'd like to do more live stream content as well. As I said, I had a mention of this, but I'd like to do more. I'm already on Robert's channel a handful of times, but I will try to be doing the cross streaming more with him for that. So other big news, and I won't go too much into the detail because reasons, but some of the biggest news that just happened and got solidified. Did I ever finish? Okay, let me answer this. Did I ever finish streaming the Lego build? No, and that's something I'm gonna do. God damn it, I promise you I will finish that goddamn D&D Lego set. I also have other cool D&D or other cool Lego sets that I want to build. First of all, I got this guy. And by the way, I don't know if you know, but this one moves and it walks and the tongue comes out and like the Yoshi's legs move. I've been sitting on this one that I want to build on stream for a while, and I never did. I do have the light set for the D&D Lego set, and yeah, Christmas, my sister got me the rock set and the light kit for the D&D rock set, so I can live my geology, geomancer, Lego brick building best life and build this cool Lego set, which is not that crazy looking intricate wise, but then I can also light it up. So this is another live stream I really want to do because also you probably can tell I moved my printer, my paper printer out of here. I have to clean up the bottom and put trim down there, but I'm going to put a shelf in there and illuminate it so I can move like all of this booze and Legos and stuff and put them in there so that they all get lit up. So that's a future live stream I'd like to do. Thank you for calling me out on the D&D one, though. I've done about half of that Lego set, and the other half is sitting in this box. So at some point, I will get to finish that. So, yes, Rated RKD Gaming. You're hitting another point of content I want to make here in 2026. Getting all of the D&D Beyond third-party content reviewed. That's Evantris. That's Dungeon Dudes. That's Mage Hand Press. By the way, all of these people are good friends of mine. Like, I have very fond memories of hanging out with the Dungeon Dudes at parties. I've gone drinking with the Evantris boys a ton of times. Like, I owe them this just as friends, and I feel bad that I haven't done it yet. So that is all content that I plan to roll out, as well as reviewing all of that. Still with my keeping in mind that, again, they are friends, but I'm going to give it a critical eye, and if I don't like the way it is, I'm going to call it out for what it is. So Drakkenheim, all that stuff. Yes, Crooked Moon is actually on its, so new, by the way, new campaigns that I'm planning to potentially run in a world post my Fandelver campaign. Things that I've thrown around as ideas were Crooked Moon, is the Kobold Press Norselands campaign, which is like a Viking-themed Nordic campaign. Those are the two on the docket. Maybe whatever WotC's going to release, if we ever find out what it is. I assume there will be a campaign this year, but I don't know. Yes, I will promise to give you guys, I won't do these Lego streams like on a whim. I will plan them out because I also need the time. I need to clean up the space and get the camera rigs and everything set up. So all that. Plans for the future. So yes, more of that. Don't start until like June or July. Yeah, well, we'll see. But yes, campaigns, yes, we'll see. But big news that I will tell you guys now. I will be moving this year, which was not part of the plan originally, but a bunch of things fell into place. I don't know the full time frame on that. Don't even get me started on yeah, I think you're talking about like the deck that I built. I know. So I will be moving at some point this year. So I don't know all the specifics at this point. A lot of things need to kind of get figured out. But yes, I will be moving at some point this year. more information on that when I'm in a more better place to talk about it. Yeah, I'm basically wrapped all the home construction that I was doing, by the way. I just need to finish putting the vinyl siding on the outside, which the plan was to do it this weekend, and then Mother Nature decided to take the 1-inch dusting of snow I was supposed to get and turn it into like 6 inches in each day, which has been fun. I was supposed to get literally 1 inch of snow or less yesterday and today, and I got like 6 inches yesterday, and it looks like it's gonna be like another 4 inches today. Which was not part of the plan because I started putting the siding up on the outside of it, and that's all that's stopping me from closing the permit because everything else has already been approved. So yeah. Yeah, well, I guess, Kendra, you got the opposite end of what I was hoping for because I was like, "Oh, I'll just go outside." Now I can't even, like all the vinyl siding I was gonna put up is covered in snow, so I have to dig it all out to be able to put it up on the house. Um I would hope that the deck would definitely increase the value of the house when it becomes time to sell it. Um, so, but yes. Uh, so you guys will come along for a large portion of that journey because in this new house, there is some work to be done. So, for example, currently, I don't have a space fully designed in this new house for recording like I do here. Now, remember, if those of you who have been around for a while, you remember that I didn't have this space the whole time either. I built this space as like a soundproof room to kind of be able to record videos in. I used to be on the other side of this wall where my desk used to be set up, which is now kind of where all my arcade machines and things are set up. Um, so I will actually be, when I move into this new house, starting a brand new channel, which I will obviously promote here occasionally, but I will be starting a brand new DIY channel where I will bring you along the way as I'm going to be doing a fair few amount of updates to this house. Obviously, some basic stuff like painting, but I know I'll be replacing the entire set of floors on the whole first floor of this house, and realistically, probably the second floor. I will be there is no basement in this house, but it does have a very large unfinished attic. So I will be converting that attic space it's like 800 square feet, so it's huge. I will be converting that attic space into my space. That will be a recording space as well as a D&D space in that location. So not only will you get to come along for watching me do things like tear out all of the floors and replace all of those in the main floor, as well as redoing the kitchen, removing some windows and walls and things, probably changing out fixtures and, painting and things of that nature. I think the deck boards at some point will likely need to get replaced. Got to install a fence for the dogs. And then obviously creating a recording space in this attic. So we are at just a big open space. All it has is a floor. And obviously, it's an attic, right? So eaved roofs and things. But I will be doing that as a full separate channel that I'm not going to try to, because I don't want to bog down Nerd Immersion with that. So working on coming up with a name for that channel. Nerd Construction is currently the name that I'm throwing around the most. Nerd Construction DIY, and I'm working on logos and things for that. Captain Robert really wants me to call it DIY-zard, and I can't get over saying it like that. So I don't think I'm going to go with DIY-zard, but if I put that out there on the internet, all you guys are going to be like, that's the best name. That's what you should call it. So we'll see. Yeah, so I will be working on that. I knew as soon as I said it, I was like, these sons of bitches are going to love DIY-zard. And that's going to become the goddamn name of the channel. I should have kept it quiet. I got to workshop names, right? And I might even ask you guys to help me workshop names. And then as I start coming up with logos and things, I will ask you guys to comment on logos as time goes on. So that'll be part of it. I also know So obviously, part of the reason that we're moving is to be closer to family. Um, but the boys are, at least Wes is a little bummed because, he's older, so he's been able to build sort of a friend group here where we are. So him moving is going to be a little bit more of like an upheaval than it would be for Bruce, since Bruce is younger and he's kind of just like go with the flow anyway. So part of the concept of this move is that we promised them that if we move, we're going to get a third dog. So we will be getting a third dog upon this move as well. So that will be something else that will be happening. So I will also be covering that on this channel. And actually, kind of as a joke, but just to add another revenue stream to things in the future, I actually created an Instagram account this morning or late last night for my two dogs that I have currently, Adam and Adora. And I will obviously be adding the third dog to that Instagram account. So, yeah, we've got Adam and Adora. So I made @Eternian Pets as an Instagram account because obviously they're named after Prince Adam and Princess Adora, aka She-Ra and He-Man, or what the two dogs that I currently have are named after. Already know that the third dog's probably going to be a boy and probably going to be named Duncan after Man-at-Arms. So, yeah, we will continue on our Eternian Pets growth here. So you guys can feel free to follow @Eternian Pets on Instagram if you wish to keep up on what's going on with my dogs and silly dog-based content. Oh, it's for the kids is a bit of an excuse for getting. No, I want the third dog. I want this. I've wanted a third dog for a long time. But it's gonna be. This is like what's is helping smooth things over for the kids. But like, let's be real. I want the third dog too. So that's a thing. And more fun and interesting conversations about this in the future once I can speak to things a little bit more intelligently at this point. But yes, fun things with this move. So it's going to be, it's a lot, right? Because then it's going to be the process of moving all the stuff and then the process of you got to move all the stuff. And then you got to get the house ready to sell. So you got to sell this house. And that's a whole process because you got to get stuff out, but then you got to get stuff clean enough to be able to stage it, to be able to show it. And then you got to go through the whole process of listing your house and all that. So thank you, Kendra, for linking it on Twitch. I'll link it over here on YouTube as well for you guys if you'd like to follow it. There's the Instagram account for my dogs. So, yeah, it's just, whatever I can do. And also, so somebody had brought up earlier, would I ever run games for fans and stuff like that? So part of the plan, and I'd done it once before, but only kind of as like a test. So, in this year, probably, in the process of the move and whatnot, once I kind of get myself settled, I will likely fully reactivate my Start Playing account and start running games at least once a week over on Start Playing, if not multiple times a week, running, professional GM'd games over there. So that way, if you want to get involved in playing in a game that I run, that'll be an option for you. Let's see. So, we'll have to see how things work. But, the plan is to get that going at certain points. and we'll see what happens. But yeah, I have got a lot of plans for a lot of content that I want to make, and yeah. Let's see. Startplaying.games is the place that I'm speaking of. Startplaying.games. That's run by a good friend of mine, Devin, or he's one of the co-creators over from Total Party Chill. So, and again, they're in the process of doing the things for this move and everything else. I should have more time to do content related things. So, that should help once I get to that point. So we should be able to do more of that stuff. So all that'll be happening. So lots of cool stuff coming in the world of 2026. Will your name on Start Playing be Nerd Immersion? It's already on there. I just don't have any active games. Actually, I can go pull it up and we'll just confirm. But yes, it should be Nerd Immersion on there. I'm gonna go pull it up and see. Find Game Masters, search by name. Is it Nerd Space Immersion on there? Oh no, it's actually, I guess I haven't logged in long enough, so maybe my account is temporarily disabled. Let's see. Oh boy, I have 16 messages on Nerd Immersion right now. Oh boy. A lot of them are from 5 years ago, but yeah. Whoops. Well, I think again a lot of these are older messages, but yes, my name on there should be either Ted or Nerd Immersion. Okay, so I have to go through and take a look and see if I need to update it. But let's go ahead and do that. Yeah. I have to add prompts now? What is this? Let me go ahead and update this just so you guys can let's see. Sorry. Shouldn't be doing this while we're here, but we can go ahead and look. All right. So it says, yeah, add up to 3 prompts to the ideal table section of your Game Master portfolio to show off the experience you provide. Ah, okay. What system is the Buffy the Vampire Slayer on your Start Playing profile? It's actually Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the RPG, which was used the cinematic uni system, which is something almost nobody remembers or even acknowledges that exists. That's what that RPG is. It was Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, and Army of Darkness, I think, are the only games that utilized that, the cinematic uni system. There were a couple of games that used the uni system, which was that with a little bit of tweaks like Terra Primate and All Flesh Must Be Eaten. But I don't think many people even know about those games anymore. Like those games they were real big in like the mid 2000s, and then like a bunch of other stuff came out, so that kind of fell off. So yeah. And I don't think it'll let me do this without having prompts. Let's see. Let's see. Well, let me read through these prompts. When I'm not running games, I'm whatever. The 3 words my players use to describe me are. My favorite shows and movies are. People are always surprised when I tell them. My favorite system of all time is, honestly, I'm going to say it's probably Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I love 3rd edition. I love a lot of other stuff, but there. So now I think you should be able to find it pretty easily. So yeah, I mean, I love 3rd edition and 3.5, but I think I've honestly spent more time in 5th edition as a player and a GM. I spent a long time with 3rd edition, and I have a lot of very fond memories of 3rd edition because of it being the first game I ever played and all that. So that definitely holds a, special spot in my heart. And I love it, and there's definitely things about it that I wish could be brought forward. And if I got an opportunity to play in a 3rd edition game, would I? Absolutely. But I've probably spent more time designing, writing, playing, and GMing 5th edition than anything else. So I just have the most experience in it. So I think because of that, that's probably why I would say most of my, that's where my content, you know. Let's see. If I search by name, if I search Nerd Immersion now, do I come up? Nope. I wonder why. Well, either way, I'm on there. I promise you. Oh, wait. Now I found myself. There I am. Yeah. So I'm on there. But anyway. Love 5th edition, but I have loved the prestige classes. The restrictions of what you could do to get certain prestige classes opens up so much more for role-playing. I will agree, Captain, that you can get a lot more versatility and uniqueness and reason for changing your characters in certain ways by following in the line of prestige classes. It's why I really was excited when they sort of started demoing prestige classes in that one Unearthed Arcana that everybody forgot about. Because for those of us who remember back in the early 5th edition days, they were attempting prestige classes, and then it didn't end up happening. But I thought it was a really cool concept to try to bring it back. And then obviously we kind of went with subclasses instead of prestige classes. But yeah. So again, I think there's some cool ideas for homebrew and stuff for prestige classes, and it was definitely neat to see. But ultimately, I'm not sure they really truly have a space in 5e, especially with the updates to 2024, where it kind of gave everybody a little bit more. I still do think that Wizards kind of got the short end of the stick with the updates that Sorcerer got, but either way. Saft, man, you've been crying for Gestalt for so long, and I do not see Gestalt happening in the world of 2024 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. It's like 5th edition characters are already superheroes. Gestalt is just bonkers. But yeah. Yeah. Sorcerers are infinitely stronger in 2024. As somebody who's playing a 2014 sorcerer on that Legend Rerolled podcast, man, do I wish I had 2024. Because, damn, there's so many cooler things I'd be able to do if I could. And I just can't because we're stuck in 2014. But, yeah. I don't know. It's kind of rough. So, it looks like we got another person has joined Dungeons and Dragons recently. Aaron Roberts finally got around to updating Yield profile page with some fun news. I've joined Wizards of the Coast as a game designer. Much love to everyone who's been part of the journey. Okay, hey, that's a new, just real quick. Aaron Roberts here as of 2 days ago. I missed this. But so we've got another person, a new person added to the Dungeons and Dragons team. So that's cool. A lot of new hires going on over there. But yeah, I don't know. The only thing I really would earnestly love to see, and I mean, it's beating a dead horse at this point, is an update to the Ranger, you know? That's why I'm actually really excited to hear what's going on with our Eternal Rhyme of the Frost Maiden campaign on Captain Robert's channel. The reason I bring that up is because one of Feisty, he is playing my update to the 2024 Ranger in that game. So I've been trying to fix that. Now, again, that's a little bit off because it's a Robert E game. And if you're familiar with how Robert E works, it's drastically different than 5e. So it's not necessarily the best test for it, but we've been trying that out. We should lobby to make weird class stuff official or available on D&D Beyond too. So that's something that they started to add some, third-party stuff to D&D Beyond, like the Gunslinger and like some of the other things have been added to D&D Beyond as like usable classes and things. The thing I would love more than anything would be if we could get Unearthed Arcana back in D&D Beyond, because you used to remember, if you recall back in the day, when an Unearthed Arcana would release, they would actually add that as an option for players to choose in D&D Beyond. And then they'd update it once things came official or whatever, but you'd have access to those things in D&D Beyond. And unfortunately, they made that call at one point where they were no longer going to support Unearthed Arcana in D&D Beyond. I'd love to see that make a comeback. Thanks, Lewis. I appreciate it, man. Enjoy the mass transit trip. But let's, you know what? Why don't we give you guys have been good to me. You guys have been very sweet. And obviously I'm going to need to rely on you guys to kind of help out and just like hold down the fort for me once we're in the process of moving, because obviously that's going to be a little hectic. So I don't know what content's going to look like during that period, right? So I may need some assistance. Spoke to Roll for Combat at PAX. They said there's a list of create WotC has and are going through. Yeah, I'm sure there is. There's a bunch of stuff. And they keep adding more third-party stuff to D&D Beyond. So what's the best way to do this? No. Yeah, I really honestly, so the couple of the updates that I've made to Wizard to try to even the playing field on the adjustments that Sorcerer got. Thanks, Agile Monk. Appreciate it. Is for the Wizard, I've started allowing, if it's in your spell book, it counts as prepared. So you don't have to have all these spells in your spell book and then also choose a list of prepared spells. If it's in your spell book, it counts as prepared. And that is one thing that drastically improves the versatility and the sort of toolboxy nature of a wizard, and like, oh, I have that spell, so I can use it. That's like my biggest simple update that does boost the power of the wizard overall. Okay. Well, I just got a message that I need to run. So a bunch of you are bouncing out anyway. So I appreciate everything that's going on. And got to go actually talk to the realtor. So anyway, I will be back in some capacity in some videos in the next bit. Again, if you want to check out my pet's Instagram account, you can definitely go visit Attorney and Pets over on Instagram. And more news to come as we get into this over time here. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. And again, sorry I had to cut this one short, but moving is stressful enough as it is, so I got to go deal with that. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you hopefully soon with more content in the next little bit. Bye, everyone.